Welcome to M Go Bucks. Down goes Bama. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I can't believe that it actually happened. Michigan got over a huge
Boo!
Michigan got over a huge milestone in this. I mean, just to win a game in the playoffs is humongous. But to beat Saban, that's otherworldly. I mean, for this team and for Michigan, I'm real happy for those guys because it was a rough game. I mean, you could tell Michigan was playing really good on offense. They had plays to make on offense. The defense was playing really good, but a lot of those bull mistakes that they generally have and they have happened, it happened to Michigan again. I mean, it was a litany of special teams errors. I mean, my gosh, the first pass that was the first play of the game by JJ McCarthy was a pass, and I remember you texted and said, "You that lucky sob,"
Yeah.
was a pick. He threw a pick like that. That's so Michigan in the playoffs. So I don't know. What did you think, man?
Well, I thought the play of the. I mean, I missed parts of it because I was out at dinner, but I thought the play of the game was clearly the 4th and 2, like on your own 30-yard line in the fourth
Mhm.
quarter, down 7, and they forgot to cover Quorum.
Yeah.
Like what? Their defense was playing pretty good, and then they completely. I mean, they gave up like two huge plays. It wasn't just like, you like there's like two playmakers on the whole team, and like one of them they just forgot to cover, and then Roman Wilson, the other one, they gave him another huge pass, and like so they drove down like really quickly, and Michigan's not
Mhm.
exactly a quick strike offense, so that was very
Yeah.
strange. But yeah, the weird thing was like from the start of it, it just seemed like the only reason that Alabama was even in the game was because of weird fluky plays. Um, like they started off the game with 2 sacks, and I was like, well, this seems like Michigan is the better team here, and then they just have like a stupid play like where the punt returner just runs up full speed trying to like make a miracle catch. Like, why would you do that? And
Mhm.
then at the end, like they're getting the punt return at the very end of the game with 30 seconds left. Why did they even let someone go back there to even attempt it?
God, I
And why
know.
was anyone even back there to even make that mistake? So that was another huge mistake. Like I thought this was like maybe you guys borrowed our special teams coach for the day because
We
I
did.
mean,
You guys fired him,
and the
right?
funny,
He may have come
not
over
not
to
not
Michigan.
yet, but he
Oh,
he needs to be fired. And then I was going to say the biggest most important factor in you guys winning this game was the fact that you can't um, have punt returns or kick returns in the overtime. So I was like, well, now that they're in overtime, they don't have to worry about the biggest Achilles heel that Michigan has is their return game.
that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of.
So
That's
like that was
probably
your
why
biggest
why they're like,
weakness was
hey,
like taken away
thank
in the
goodness we're in
overtime rules.
overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone, hey, all the Michigan fans, please give me a go blue in the comments. We got to celebrate. This is huge. I mean, it's the last year of the actual like typical 14 playoff. We did it. Andrew Lane, yep, gave us a go blue. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, give it to us if it's live or if it's in the comments
Do
afterwards.
you guys think
Good.
not to rain on the parade right away, but do you think this win is going to get vacated?
It doesn't matter. Vacated wins don't matter to me. I mean, as long as it's still going to be on YouTube for me to rewatch, whether it's vacated or not. And the feeling of elation right now, they can't take that away with a vacated win, no matter
who do
how
you
hard they try.
who do you want? Who do you think is going to be your opponent, and who do you want?
Uh I that's a good question. I
I
almost
would
want
say you
Texas.
would want. I would say you want Washington because Texas has an amazing run defense, and
Yeah,
that's your
maybe.
strength, right?
I don't know. I'm more scared. Who am I more scared of on
You should
offense?
be.
I'm more
You're,
scared of
well,
Washington personally. Just that
yeah,
passing
but
game, just because they're so
they
good
don't
at
have
it.
they don't have an elite defense like it. Like
No,
the
but
Texas run defense is
that
going to be
didn't stop
really hard
Oregon.
for you guys.
I mean, that didn't stop Oregon from losing. So,
Yeah,
and I thought Oregon was a really good team, and they lost twice. And
yeah.
Washington just
I
throws
was
that
really
ball up
impressed
with
with
the best of them.
Washington. I just think it's all about matchups, and
Mhm.
I'd be more worried about the Texas defensive tackles stopping your running game than I would be about your secondary matching up with really good receivers at Washington. So that's like
Yeah.
a strength on strength. Whereas I just think that no one has ran on Texas, so I think that's a really a
Yeah,
tough,
very true.
a tough ask.
Very true. Yeah, I would. It's going to be interesting to watch the game after we're done with this. I know we
Yeah,
won't make this a super long video just because you
yeah.
and I both want to go watch the next game.
So you should be rooting for Washington, in my opinion. But
Maybe, but if they can beat Texas, then what does that say about
well, no, it doesn't matter
Washington? That's
because
pretty
if
awesome.
they beat them, it's just a matchup thing. Because Washington, while they have a good running game, their strength is their passing game, right? So
Yeah,
if they win, it's going to be because they win in a shootout, and it's all about matchups. And I think you guys don't match up very well against Texas.
yeah, very true, very true. But I mean, Michigan just seemed to pull this one out of their ass a little bit because you know how like teams who are not quite as good as the other, sometimes they'll have really, really good first halves.
Hmm.
And then that I was kind of I was afraid of that when the third quarter happened with Alabama because Alabama started running the ball really good. And
Why
they
did they
got up
wait so long?
by,
Why did they
by
wait
like
so long to
four.
run?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Because Milrow is a pretty good passer. He throws good deep passes. I don't think he connected on
He had
any
no he had no
plays.
he had no time to throw any passes
Yeah,
from what I
and
saw.
Michigan's defense was lights out on that. I mean, they gave up the runs. They still gave up some plays, which you expect. I mean, they're still a top four
Hmm.
team in the playoffs. So, and it's Saban. But I started thinking, oh shit, in Michigan, there were some plays for Michigan to be made. First, in the third quarter, JJ McCarthy misses a wide open guy for a first down that would have converted a third down. Then, on their next possession, they miss. The ball goes right through the receiver's
Yeah,
hand. Converted, it would be another third down conversion. And they missed on both of those, and I'm thinking, this is why Michigan is just like a notch below, the top echelon of college football, is because they just can't convert on those types of plays when they're there to be made, and you just can't let a team like Bama, sit around, and they'll eventually come back and get you. So that's where my mind was going, and then Michigan went on a dream drive there at the end with 4 minutes, it was about 4 minutes left, and JJ McCarthy was just awesome in that. I mean, they ran the ball really well. It was
hmm.
just gorgeous, gorgeous, and it went to overtime.
That one throw to Roman Wilson was tipped, and it didn't affect the spiral at all. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
Like a
no,
ball
it
got tipped, and the spiral didn't even get affected. Very
it
strange, and that was
it
an
made it
incredible
did
catch.
it actually made the ball go up a little higher
So
than it would have,
yeah, it
and
was an
Roman had to
incredible
jump and
catch.
leap
The
for it.
like his body movement on that, so he contorted his body to make the catch, and not only did he move around in the air in weird ways to make that catch, but then as soon as he landed, he was still somehow able to avoid the tackler and make like another 10 yards after that. So that
Yeah,
was just you know, it's like really like two plays of the game is the fact that 4th and 2 he had the balls to go for it instead of because they had 3 timeouts they could have punted there and
yeah,
then
that would have
tried
been.
to
I'd have
get
been
three
real mad
stops,
if
but
they did that.
yeah, their run defense wasn't really working. That would have been probably a dumb play, but I mean it's 4th and 2. You still have to have some balls to make that call, and then the fact that they somehow didn't cover quorum, and then they made the big pass to Roman Wilson. So those two plays were the plays of the game.
Yeah, and then I thought for sure Michigan scored too quick. Left a
Too
minute and
quickly, yeah.
30,
Yeah, I would have
and I
maybe
was like, "Oh,
ran 4 times and took my chances with Corum running and wasting clock at the same time
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
they
Because
scored really
you
fast."
were only I mean were you know yeah because it would have been a tie game. So you're giving them a minute and a half. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, really is, when all they need is a field goal, and their field goal kicker was
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, Michigan missed the
yeah,
field goal in this
best field
game
goal.
too. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. Your special teams was like Ohio State level special teams today. It was just really bad.
Yeah, it's just things like that happen in bowl games to Michigan, and I'm shocked that it didn't come back to bite them in the end. But it didn't. I mean, they won, and about that in like overtime, Corum, like just 2 runs for the touchdown, and that's it. 25 yards in that first.
Yeah,
It was just crazy. Like Corum just, and I know defenses are generally, when you're in overtime, defenses are tired, right? So Alabama was probably a little gassed from the last drive that Michigan made towards the end. Michigan gets the ball, and that's another thing. In college overtime, you flip a coin, and the team that wins the toss basically says, usually they say,
defer.
"We want the other team to go," so that they know how to react.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, they know what they need to do. But in that case, it almost felt like Michigan took advantage of a gassed Alabama defense and just ran Corum, and he gashed them for 2 runs.
Yeah, that was super surprising. I mean, I figured that they might score, but I didn't think they'd score that quickly. So that was very strange. Like they got those last 2 touchdowns in regulation and in overtime really quickly.
Yeah, it's really amazing. But yeah, before we move on from this, everyone, please subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. I know that we want to talk a little bit about Ohio State too, because I know they're in kind of a different spot right now, losing to Missouri. I was shocked about that, and we kind of went on a little hiatus for the holidays, so we haven't had a lot of chance to actually get on and do one of these shows. But a lot's happened, and hey, Chris, Happy New Year to you too. Yeah.
Bah humbug.
You're a Michigan fan. It's a very, very happy new year that we haven't experienced in a long, long time. I mean, it's just huge that Jim Harbaugh
I'm
wins
having a very salty new year. Can you tell this is my salty face?
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I've had those. I've had your salty face for too many years, actually, and so I know exactly how.
I think I'm more upset that you guys won this game than I am that we lost to Missouri, because that game was like an exhibition game. I was pissed about it, obviously, but like I get more enjoyment from Michigan losing than I do almost from winning our games outside of like playoff games, of course.
I admit I'm a small man in that way too. Last year, after Michigan lost to TCU, I was rooting against Ohio State just because I couldn't muster like good feelings. I was like, I need someone else to have a lot of pain to share that with me. But
our game, like we had the Michigan special teams basically.
Yeah, go blue, Chris.
We have all these guys that are like trying to catch punts like inside the 10-yard line.
Michigan did some of that too. On the last one,
delays of game on the punts, and just all sorts of stupid things on special teams. We didn't have any fumbles like you guys did, so it was a little bit better, surprisingly. The fact that your special teams was worse than ours. I mean, I cannot believe how bad your special teams was, and you still won. Like that was just missed field goals. Fumbled, 2 fumbled punts, right? And you recovered one, you lost one.
Don't forget, we missed an extra point too.
So that just, you guys had literally one of the worst special teams performances I've ever seen.
Ever.
And still somehow won. That's just how bad the Bama passing game is, man. Their passing game just really sucked. I didn't get to see all the Georgia games, so I'm not sure how they beat Georgia. That's really surprising.
Well, Georgia's maybe awesome either,
Yeah, that's maybe one of the more surprising games of the year. I know Georgia had some injuries, but still, like, this is not an elite Bama team of the past. I mean, there's just a bunch of good teams this year. There's just like there's no like elite teams. I mean, even last year, Ohio State and Georgia and Michigan, I mean, they were all good last year, but everyone had weaknesses. There was, I feel like the 2 best teams were like those Alabama and Georgia teams from 2 years ago. So, Alabama with Jamison Williams beat Georgia the first time, then Jamison Williams and Mechie got hurt, and they lost in the national championship game, right? So, I just think that those were elite teams, like on offense and defense. Where it just seems like the last 2 years, all the teams have had flaws. Like I think Georgia and Ohio State didn't have elite defenses last year that other teams have had in previous years. Michigan, was good enough to beat Ohio State last year, but then I don't know what happened in the TCU game. I mean, they said that they didn't take him seriously enough, but I mean they were ready today. It's just lots of. I mean, their defense looked elite, made Alabama's offense look pedestrian. I was surprised that it was even that close. I mean, if you had normal special teams, you guys win by 2 scores probably.
Yeah, special teams really cost Michigan in this one for sure.
And it also goes to show how close how this really is a game of inches, right? I mean, The first drive against Michigan, Ohio State throws an interception. Your guy, Mill Johnson, gets an interception, whereas here, first play of this game, they get an interception, but then drop the ball. Not drop it. I'm sorry. His foot was like barely on the line or something. So like because of an inch or something, they don't get the ball, but then, they ended up basically getting the ball back after the fumbled punt return anyway. So
yeah, that's true. And like Joel Klatt was saying, he was
yeah.
talking about Ryan Day. I think it was Joel. No, it may not be Joel Klatt. Maybe it was someone else. But saying basically like that missed kick by Ohio State against Georgia last year. They were that missed kick away from beating Georgia and probably being national champions.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're Ohio State's beating TCU. We all pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I think really the problem was like if they could have just got 5 more yards on that third down before the kick, just had a bad play there. But anyway, I just want to get quickly to the transfer portal. So I think now that this game is over, there's a couple things I want to talk about. So is Alabama going to be losing a lot of people in the transfer portal? I mean, they're going to be losing some people, but are they going to be losing anyone good? And that'll be interesting because we could use some offensive linemen. We just signed the only person we picked up so far is a blocking tight end from Ohio University. I mean, he's a decent catcher, I guess, but he's mostly, from what I've read, a really good blocking tight end. He's like 6'6", 240, really good at blocking. And I'm just like, you know what? We haven't had a blocking tight end in, 3 years now. So we are due for a blocking tight end that can help the run game. And that would be helpful. And then I'm hoping we can get some, we're supposed to get, the Kansas State quarterback potentially. We've been hearing about that for a few days, but we have not sealed the deal yet on him. And apparently, who was it? Cam Ward just said he's going pro now. He was considering going to University of Miami, and
I can't believe he's going pro.
So I don't know if you saw I don't know if I sent you the text. So there was in his interview, he said he was trying to get Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 player in the country, to come with him to Miami. He said that he would transfer to Miami if Jeremiah Smith signed with Miami. And so because he went to the Buckeyes, then Cam Ward is now not going to Miami and he's going to go pro instead. So I'm definitely not going to be rooting for him in the NFL, trying to take our player away from us, bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
But we lost 2 high 4-star receivers because this is one of the problems I think a lot of people have been having with Hartline versus with Zach Smith. So Zach Smith, his wide receivers, he nicknamed them Zone 6 because he rotated all 6 top receivers. So like all of them got to play a lot. So we have like all these elite receivers and we're not rotating them at all. So like, you have Marvin and Mecca and, we're just not letting the other guys get any kind of play. We're putting in backup tight ends instead of letting all the elite receivers play. And our backup tight ends are hot garbage, they're just absolute trash.
You've got a lot of talented wide receivers, so it's not surprising.
But they're not getting rotated in. No, I know.
Yeah,
but,
I mean that's another. You
don't think that they would
surprise that they're transferring. I mean, you just pulled in another.
In general, you would say that, but if they got some playing time, don't you think that would help a little bit?
Maybe, but I mean, even just some playing time. And I don't know this. I don't follow Ohio State receiver. I only follow the receivers that are in like the top 10.
I mean, these were both top 100. They were both top 100 receivers. These were really highly ranked guys.
Highly ranked meaning like top 100.
Yes.
They weren't 5-stars though, were they?
I think one guy was a 5-star and at least 1 rating. So
okay,
the one was a really elite receiver.
Yeah, but when you guys got that Brandon Innes guy, you guys got the Carnell Tate. Then you brought in 2 more 5-stars.
I know.
I mean, I'm even if they got a few plays here and there, I don't know that all those guys. You weren't going to see some transfers regardless, just for playing time. They know they're not going to get a lot. But the thing is, though,
I mean, they're only freshmen. They're giving up. They're giving up after 1 year. I mean, do they really think that they were going to play that much in their first year? That's why it's surprising.
Maybe they're looking at the quarterback situation, and maybe they're being told, like, "Hey, you're probably not going to play here." If they couldn't get on the field, maybe there's a reason.
As a freshman with Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka on the team, I just think that we could have like rotated and incorporated them more. Like I think we play our starters. I wonder if do you think that the system is set up that you have to leave your starting offense, your starting quarterback, everyone, because like even in in blowouts when we're up, like, let's say we're up 25 or 30, we'll leave in all of our starters at the end because you have to get big wins every single week to make sure you're top 4 for the playoff rankings. You can't have like any kind of a close win. So you have to leave your starters in the whole game.
Yeah. I
And do you
mean,
think that's potentially hurting the ability to get these younger guys more play?
possibly. I wouldn't worry. I don't think your receivers are going to be an issue. I mean, right now,
Yeah.
your quarterback and offensive line is the issue. But one
Yeah.
going back, hey, Nathan, how he says, how are OSU fans right now? So, Matt, do you want to give a synopsis of how Buckeye
I
fans are
already
feeling
told
right
you
now?
we're very salty right now.
I just want to hear you explain it again.
Let's see.
And you
Horrible
can't tell
offensive
you're a Buckeye
line.
fan right
I
now. You
I
tend to
I
wear your Penn State blue when you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, before the season started, I was very concerned because the last 2 years we have basically failed to pick up any of the elite offensive linemen we've been going after. So 2 years of not hitting. Part of that was the first year. We fired our offensive line coach and we got a new one in. So he didn't have much time to get his first class in. But when you're having a transition between offensive line coaches or any coach, you're going to probably not do as well unless you're a big name guy that first year. And then his second full year, again, he didn't land anybody good. And so, we're not hitting any of the elite offensive line guys. And we just have a bunch of above average guys again this year. I mean, maybe we'll find some diamonds in the rough, but I'm thinking if we don't get, 2 or 3, elite offensive linemen in the transfer portal, then we're going to be hurting next year big time, no matter who the quarterback is.
Yeah. And Nathan, yeah, we don't know what the NCAA is going to do to Michigan. So I guess we better enjoy this right now. Just say woohoo, and go down the slide and enjoy it right now because we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully it's not too awfully terrible. We don't know what's going to happen.
Nevada Buck
If
is also
Harbaugh,
a clown, and he doesn't know anything. So
what's that?
I said Nevada Buck is a clown, and him and Kirk Barton pretend like they know things and they don't know shit. I mean, they know Kirk Barton at least knows about football, but like I'm saying, like their sources, they've been talking about quarterbacks that are already silent commits to Ohio State, but I don't see anyone committed. They're saying the K-State quarterback's already committed. I don't know. It seems like they pretend like they know all this advanced stuff that they don't actually have anything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know anything about those guys, but I mean, we'll find out. Usually, if you're saying things are guaranteed and then they don't happen, I mean, then like, all right, I guess I won't believe you next time. But it does. I mean, the K-State. What's that guy's name?
Will Howard, I think.
Will Howard.
Will Howard. Yeah.
He's good. If like in Ryan, hey, welcome Ryan. Sorry, Diego's not here, or maybe that's not a sorry. Maybe that's a good thing that Diego's not here. But yeah, dejected. I mean, how will you feel if you get Will Howard? Is that gonna make things better? Because I really don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think
guys feel better.
I think the main thing is I will feel better about having. I mean, my main problem is Devin Brown is very inexperienced, and my biggest concern with him obviously is he's injury prone, right? So he got 3 times this year. He's been hurt. So I'm just worried that he can make it a whole season. So like Will Rogers is, he's been around the block. He's been there forever. He won the Big 12 2 years ago, or last year, and he's an experienced guy. He's really big. He's durable, and if nothing else, he's like a good backup plan in case Devin Brown gets hurt. I mean, most likely, I think if he comes here, he probably would be a starter, but. We need another veteran in there in case people get hurt because we literally have no experience anywhere in that quarterback room. Obviously, none of it will matter if you don't get offensive line help. So this is still secondary concern compared to offensive line, but I do think we would really could use a veteran quarterback, even if he's not an elite guy.
Yeah, Rocky. Yeah, says congratulations to Michigan Wolverines, Ohio State Buckeye fan from El Paso, Texas. Thanks so much. I'm feeling.
Rocky,
I remember
you're
how
being too nice. You should never say nice things to Michigan fans. I'm wishing bad things on Nate and bad things on all Michigan fans everywhere.
You're wishing for bad things.
Yes.
Basically, I remember 2014 when I thought for sure Bama was going to beat Ohio State. Like 0 chance Ohio State's going to win, and then they win. Then they did. I was dejected after that too. I mean, it was just a disgusting time for Michigan. I was in no mood to celebrate Ohio State's victories. So I totally get it.
The only silver lining here is if Michigan loses the national title and the SEC doesn't get to claim a victory. Well, actually, so we need Washington to win then, because then it wouldn't be an SEC or a future SEC team.
Yeah, that's actually
because
fantastic.
the
Yeah,
SEC
and
will
thanks,
claim
Brian.
Texas. They'll claim Texas winning if Texas wins. They'll claim
And
that.
I don't know why I say thanks because I didn't actually play in the game, but yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations! Thank goodness Bama went down after the fiasco with FSU. I mean, that should probably make most people feel happy just a little bit. But yeah, and back to Will Howard. And Ryan says he's not sold on Will Howard. I don't know. We'll have to see. He certainly looked good in some of the highlights I looked at. I didn't watch any like film or anything to watch his
Yeah, I mean, so
highlights.
there's a couple things. Like he's a big guy, he's durable, he has a lot of experience. I mean, it doesn't
He's
mean that
real big and mobile.
yeah, it doesn't mean that he's going to be like some superstar here, but we don't necessarily need a superstar at quarterback. We need someone who's good and it's not going to get hurt. In the second drive, Devin Brown was hurt 3 times this year. We need someone that can make it through all the games, and obviously an offensive line would help too.
Yeah. So do you think if Devin Brown doesn't go down, the Buckeyes eventually figure out how to score enough to win the game? Because I'm kind of in that camp. I mean, it's hard to tell, obviously.
It's possible. It's possible, but I mean, he was taking a lot of hits. I mean, who's to say? Yeah. I think part of the problem is when you have Lincoln in there, he didn't know, and the offensive, the new center didn't know any of the blitz pickups. So there's still like a bunch of misinformation out there on why Carson Hinzman didn't play. He started all 12 games, and then he didn't play in the bowl game. Apparently, he had an interview with someone, and he was talking about a bunch of stuff. And then after the interview, he got in trouble, and they took the interview down off the web. And apparently, he got in. The rumor is he got in trouble for that, and then that's why he didn't get a start. And so we put our right guard in at center, Matt Jones, and he didn't know how to call all the plays, all the protections. And then our right guard, Enoch Vamahi, was just complete dumpster fire. I think he had a 25 rating on Pro Football Focus. And the other guys weren't much better at like 60 across the board, but 60 is a lot better than 25. 25 is not even functional. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
So, I mean, going into that game, though, in the weeks leading up, and, it seemed like there was a lot of momentum behind Ohio State. I felt like, it felt to me that Buckeye fans thought
well, hold on. Nathan says he's an offensive Don Brown. What are you talking about? What about the Georgia game? That doesn't make any sense.
I thought that was
his offenses have been plenty good. He did bad when he had no offensive line for some reason against Missouri and no Marvin Harrison.
I like that comparison. I think that
quality. So was Georgia a quality opponent? They got 41 points on Georgia, and that was without Marvin Harrison for the last quarter.
Yeah, but the Buckeyes have had a problem, especially last year in the second half and fourth quarters. The scoring in the fourth quarters was like abysmal, and it ended up costing them games that they really, and a lot of people thought they should have won.
Well, our defense couldn't get off the field is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's part of it too. But going back to Devin Brown, I got the impression Buckeye fans were really feeling good about Devin Brown. They were expecting actually for a kind of an explosion, like something better than what McCord actually brought them in that game. Were you expecting that? Were you kind of excited to kind of see that?
Well, yeah, like all the practice reports were saying how good he was and throwing to the receivers. All these young receivers were stepping up, and everyone was amazing in practice. And then that's again why I was salty about Nevada Buck was talking about how great Devin Brown and the receivers were in bowl practice, which may have been true, but in bowl practice it's 7-on-7. They're not rushing the passer, I'm assuming, the whole time. So, and if they were, there's no way that he was getting any passes off because the OSU defensive line is really good, and the OSU offensive line is the worst thing I've ever seen since I'm trying to think. I don't think we've had a line that bad since 2003. That's a long time.
That is
the Lydell Ross years.
Sean, go blue. And I think I thought for sure Devin Brown was going to come out and sling it, and we would see
Yeah,
him
I mean,
run
it would
in.
have been nice to at
Good.
least know
And the
where we
defense was
stood
really
with
good.
him.
The defense played lights out. The Buckeye defense did.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised by that. But just like any
We were
good,
too
great
conservative
defense,
again too.
you can't keep that up. You get demoralized by your offense if they can't do anything. And towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, you're drained, you're demoralized, and you start giving up yards and points. So that's kind of like what happened, at least the way I saw it. But
yeah, I agree.
But in any case, yeah. Nathan says it's Coach Fluff. Harbaugh said Orji was going to be a Heisman punt returner prior to the season. Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh says a lot of things. And so where does he go after this? I mean, is he as good as gone to the Chargers at this point, do you think? Because I don't, I mean, with the NCAA investigation, the ridiculous schedule Michigan has to play next year, Texas, I think they play Texas, Oregon, Washington, and USC. I don't think they play all four of the Pac-12 teams.
I don't think USC is going to be a hard game. They don't have Caleb Williams, and who do they even have? I mean, they'll be a decent team.
Was awesome. Miller Moss. I don't know if you saw him
against Oregon State, who had everyone on their team opted out.
I know, but that's still a ridiculous. And we play.
They didn't have their head coach. They didn't have their first string quarterback. They didn't have their second string quarterback. And we know how third string quarterbacks fare in these bowl games.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of think that Harbaugh might be gone after this. I mean, just writing on the wall, but you don't know. I mean, he's such a weird, he's so unpredictable and weird. I mean, a lot of me would love to say Jim Harbaugh is just holding out on his contract to get the NIL the way he wants it. And I don't know. That's probably wishful thinking on my part. And it's probably just that he's waiting to see what jobs open and see what kind of leverage he can get. It does feel like he's leaving. But if he does, I say good. He could leave because it's hurting our recruiting. Essentially, does that
matter though? Because your recruiting can still be what it is right now, and you're still winning. So what does it matter?
Does that mean we're still going to be winning though? I mean, that's not really the rule. That's the exception, that you don't recruit well and you still win all these games. I think what we've been living right now in these last 3 years is an exception, and he certainly didn't do it in the previous 5 years he was there. And so I think you do need recruiting big time, and it's hurt us, and we've been distracted in these bowl games. And it almost seems like it happened again with the special teams and just some of the mess ups and screw ups that we had in this game against Bama. That excuse me, it shouldn't even have been as tough of a game going into overtime. I don't think against Bama. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Harbaugh?
I mean, I think I've said for a while, I think with the investigation alone, I think he's most likely gone. I mean, if he's going to get into trouble, why not leave? Especially if he wins the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. But all right, the next game is on, and we want to go watch it. Thanks, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel. Go Blue! So excited to actually win a playoff game. My gosh. We hope, I don't know who everyone hopes we get. I'm kind of hoping for Texas, but I may be wrong about that. So anyway.
Go Bucks.
Go Blue.